We actually do have one more song, but you guys can stay seated. The students wanted to worship with a song that we did in Mexico, and it's called Glorioso Jesus, which translates to Glorious Christ. And I think that Grace and all her magic has the lyrics for us as well. Otherwise, you can just listen.
Spoken all
Okay, but try that in Spanish. I'm just saying. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Jessie. I don't know how many of you guys saw the look on Pastor Ty's face when he handed me a microphone, but he was extremely concerned. I did bring some notes, so I'll try to be quick. Our team is missing Abby Ross, Cameron Hart, and Oliver Reinders this morning. Cameron has already left for college, and Abby is at another church this morning with her family, and Oliver's at a family reunion. I don't know if you guys needed to know all that, but that's where they are. I want to do similar to what Chris did when he did a little countdown with his team. Well, he did a count up with his team, how many people how many times they had been to Juarez. So we're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to count down. So Abby, I think we figured out this was Abby's 7th trip to Mexico. It is my 6th trip. How many people on this team have been to Mexico 5 times? How many people on this trip have been there 4 times? 3 times? 2 times? 1 time? And that includes Cameron and Oliver. So we had a young team who was going there for the first time, which was really exciting for Brent and myself to just see how God used them and how they experienced something that we have already come to love. So I do want to give some thank yous. First of all, thank you to absolutely everyone who supported us in any way. It was difficult fundraising at times, and I don't know how many of you heard about our van fiasco, but the Kloffensteins came in clutch with that problem. And so Thursday, Kelly Lord and I were going to Iowa City to pick up our rental van when we got a phone call that our rental van was not returned. And I know you guys know that it was Ragbri week because Pastor Ty was gone. So there was not another van to be found in like the tri-state area. And so we found a van in Olathe, Kansas, brand new, maiden voyage. She was a beauty. We took the Rich family SUV and the Kloffenstein family SUV, took a boy car and a girl car, which was super fun. And we went to Olathe and we picked up our Cadillac in Olathe, and we drove to El Paso. And it worked out very well. God provided that for us, and we are grateful. Some other people that work behind the scenes, Barb Vroom and some ladies that make lunches for the team. They did it for the June team. They did it for our team. They did it, I think they did it last year, the year before that, the year before that, the year before that. You guys get the picture. And I wanted to just quickly talk about a couple of frequently asked questions. So people always say, first of all, why youth trips? That's a really long story. If you want the whole story, you can ask me later. But it all started in 2014 when I went on my first trip to Mexico. It was an adult trip. About 4 years later, Jameson was 10. The Warrens had been here talking about Mexico, and he will deny this, but he told me, well, I don't speak Spanish, but I speak soccer, and I think I should go to Mexico. And I was like, well, you're 10, so I guess I'm going with you. And 2 years later, Eli Warren had come back to Juarez and was working with his parents, and he started a youth group. And I am a teacher, so October was the time that we usually took our adult trips, was a difficult time for me to be gone from school. And I said, well, let's just start a youth trip, and let's go in the summer. And in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, we did our first youth trip. There were 5 youth, 2 adults, Leah and myself, and we went to Mexico. God opened all of the doors, and he made that possible. When everyone told us the border was closed, God said, no, it isn't, and we went to Mexico. And ever since then, we have done nothing but youth trips. That first year, there was 1. The next year, there was 2. The next year, there was 3. This year we were back to 2, but Marshalltown Church called us up and they said, how do you do it? And they took a trip in between our trips this summer. So that's that part. The other part is, why do you drive? Well, when you're an adult responsible for other people's children on an airplane, you can imagine how interesting that might be. But also it gives us opportunity for team building. Most of these students will tell you they didn't really know each other very well when we started the trip, even though we'd had a couple of meetings prior to that. But that 21, 22, 23, 24-hour drive to Mexico gives them plenty of opportunity for team building. They get to know each other really well by the time that we get there. And it is challenging. It is challenging. We have found we just stop often. We eat a lot. We take bathroom breaks. We run around the van. We sing songs, and we just make sure the driver stays awake, and that's it. So it also gives us a little more flexibility with when we leave and when we come back. It's given us the opportunity to go to the Warrens' cabin after our trip in Mexico, which when we were flying was not something that we could do very easily. So it's become a huge part of what we do, and we appreciate that you continue to support us in that. And my last thing that I have to share is Abby's information that she wanted me to share with you since she could not be here this morning. And this is what Abby has to say. Hey, church, I can't be there with you in person today, but I wanted to share nonetheless. Thank you so much for your continued support all these years for myself in these groups, whether that be through buying baked goods, offering chores for pay, donating at Walking Taco fundraisers, or by praying. We all like to talk about unexpected ways that we saw God at work in these things. And honestly, I thought I knew just about everything about how this trip would play out. And I was still so excited. But that's not always how God works, is it? I had many moments of sadness and frustration at my own circumstances. And that's when I saw God the clearest, because that's how he works. In our weaknesses, he is strong. I was blessed to reconnect with many dear friends and continue to grow those relationships, and I also got to meet many new friends as well. Broken hearts could throw any activity at us, and the thing that would make it special would be the people that we did it with, and that's where I saw God this week. It's where I see God every year, in his people. I just got to see it from a different perspective this year. And if you don't know, Abby is preparing to have knee surgery, so she went to Mexico with a little bit of a hindrance, and she didn't get to do as much work as she wanted to do, but she got to do other opportunities. So,
Hi, I'm Tatum, and this is my first year at Mexico. That's a photo of Cameron doing a mental photo. That was our thing. I actually decided to go to Mexico like 2 weeks before we even left, because during VBS, Jesse met me in the bathroom and asked me why I wasn't going, and I thought it was too late to sign up, but I've always wanted to go because I saw my friends were going, and I just thought it would be a really good experience for me to have some hard work and discipline, and I'm just very thankful that we ran into each other in the bathroom. But before I read mine, will you hold my phone for me? My hands are shaking, guys. Okay, this is Cameron Hart's message because she cannot be here. But she said, this mission trip was very eye-opening to me. It strengthened my relationship with Jesus and helped me gain unexpected friends. With never being outside of the country, Mexico opened my eyes to a whole new world. I am forever thankful to have went on this trip and wouldn't trade it for the world. That is Cameron Hart's message. For me, I want to talk about how God constantly moved in us in this trip and how he just planned every little small detail. Starting off with Jesse meeting me in the bathroom, that was totally God moving right there. And I'm so thankful for my parents for being able to make this happen. I'm thankful for Eli and Lulu and Jim and Peggy, and it was just a great experience. But just to start off with Abby, with her knee issues, she was not able to go to some of the work sites with us, sadly. But one of our devotions talked about struggles and finding God's grace and his justice through those times. Abby got to spend that time with Lulu, and they talked about great things about Mexico and her coming back, and she got to just experience more things outside of the work site, and so that was one way God moved in her. And then, I kind of wrote it. It's a little messy, not going to lie. I'm shaking. I don't know why. Okay. Anyways, day 2 is talking about power of humility, which talks about working with new people and preparing for work. I didn't know anybody on this trip until the car ride, which was the best. The first 5 car rides was just the girls, and we played a bunch of music, and we sang. And then the rest of the car ride, we would play, what was it called? Charades. We learned a lot about Owen Lord. He cannot play that game, so never play that game with Owen Lord. But anyways, that just was a really good reminder that just it helped us get prepared to work with new people. I don't know why I'm shaking so bad. Okay, day 3 talked about mighty God. It talked about, what did it talk about? Sorry, guys. Yeah. Okay, so this is when some of us kind of started to get tired and sick and kind of overwhelmed. And it just reminded us to help one another through the hard times. It talked about how we can serve one another. So say we saw somebody who's getting dehydrated, we would go get them some water, or I was getting really sick, and so Jessie helped me out a lot with that. She would go get me snacks, or she would go get Deanna for me, which I'm very thankful for Deanna, by the way. Anyways, and then day 4 was, what does God want of you? This fell into the day perfectly because that's when real work started to begin. So the first few days, the day 2 and day 1, is when we were kind of just struggling a little bit because it was like 1 or 2 people jobs. And then towards like day 3 and 4, that's when like the real hard work began, where everybody had a job. It was like constant moving. And that's also when all of us were getting tired and sick. And so that was just a really good message for us to read because it talked about our strengths and weaknesses. And it could be like Jameson, he was definitely one of our strongest members on this trip. And so that was his strength. But maybe Brent's weaknesses was height, so then we would have to go up onto the ladder for him, those kind of things. So it just kind of helped us remember that some of us have weaknesses and some of us have strengths, and we just kind of have to balance those out. So that was another really good devotion that helped us get through that day, like 100%. And then I talked about day 6, kind of jumping over day 5, was talking about the prophet and the missionary that talks about anger and justice. It talks about when you get angry, it's so hard to forgive. And then we started talking about what's easier to forgive things about. So it could be like my sister stealing my clothes, and it's like, okay, I guess I can forgive you. But then it could be like somebody hurting someone I loved, and it's really hard to forgive. So we were just talking about that situation because, again, the more we worked with one another, the harder it may be to forgive each other if something happens. Like if somebody takes a tool out of my hand, I might be really overheated, and I'm like, I don't want to forgive that person. So that was a good reminder to just like stay calm, to breathe, to forgive one another through those hard times. And then, day 9 is the way we were blessed. So this is when we were at Jim and Peggy's cabin, and there was just so many blessings around us. Like we got there safely. We're back in America. We just had the best week with some of the most amazing people. I'm just so thankful for it. And it was just the nature, like loved ones, and we were reading our devotion. And yeah. Just knowing God is a blessing because if you don't know God, you don't know how to love or to have joy or hope or how to forgive people. So that's just, again, another thing. I don't know what I'm saying. Anything. Just saying, like, everything fit into place. Every devotion that we had just matched the day perfectly. It was, like, matching our struggles. It was just, like, a great reminder to be like, okay, like, get your head in the game. Like, you can do this through Christ. And, yeah, that's basically all I got to say. And then another thing I just wanted to mention, I've never been outside of America, so going to Mexico was such a great experience for me. And it also was an eye-opener because many don't have a lot in Mexico. Like, they don't have the houses we have or the plumbing we have. Like, the education, so many kids drop out as well, and that was just a huge eye-opener for me, and it makes me want to go back to Mexico every year and just like help with whatever I can do, even if it's just like planting something, you know what I mean, or just sweeping the kitchen, doing dishes, like anything helps. And they do this thing for Christmas where we can donate money and, right, I think so, right, Christmas boxing. And I don't, if any of you guys want to talk to Jesse or Brent, they're probably better with that. But I think like anything helps, and it was just a great experience. If you haven't gone, you should go. But anyways, that's it.
A time that stuck out to me the most was when we all came together and we made burritos, and people from the community came and helped. Even though they didn't have to help, they still came. And we went to the hospital and we passed them out, and I think we had 200 gone in 25 minutes. Yeah. And people were outside the hospital because they probably had family sick inside.
Right.
And they don't have the health care we have. And it was just a good experience. And it felt good to pass them out because they were all so grateful and happy to receive these burritos. And I'm grateful we got to go down.
What really opened, was the most eye-opening thing on the trip is how extreme state of poverty that they're in. We were roofing, and there was just trash all over the job site. And I was only on the roof for 2 days. And we made a bunch of progress. And I was kind of bummed that I got moved over to the other job site, but then I'm kind of grateful now because I was probably needed on that job site more on those last 2 days than I was on the roof because they were pouring concrete and it sucked. It was fun because it was God's work, but it was just really heavy and it was hot, so we were mixing concrete in like 110-degree weather, and I had to move. We were out. Lily, Kevin, and I were moving stuff in the back so they could drill a hole through the wall to get water piping, and then we had an oil spill and there was oil everywhere, so that was pretty fun.
My name is Jameson Rich, and I wanted to talk about the roof project because that was the project I was mainly on. And so we built this roof for this single mom with like 3 or 4 kids, I think. And it was just cool to see how much that roof improved their lives. And it was just a roof. Like, we have roofs on every house here in Mount Pleasant, and it was just cool that how much that improved their lives. And another challenge was it was hot, obviously, and the power kept going out. And so the first day we arrived there, they were outside in their front yard sleeping on mattresses, and because it was cooler to sleep outside. And so I just know that that roof improved their lives a lot. And this lady, Eli, told us was on the fence about her faith, but the week that we were there, she went to the Bible studies. And so it was cool to know that us just being there maybe influenced her to start going to church and Bible studies. And that's just a good feeling to know.
I'm just glad I got to help some new and familiar faces, but something that kind of changed a little bit on this trip is that even sometimes in some places that aren't really the best kind of places, there's still some hope for the people who live there.
I'll end it up here. First of all, I never thought that Tatum would make it through that without crying, and now I'm tearing up. Anyway, you guys know me. I've been around. This is an amazing experience. We don't have to sell it to you. That's not our job up here. I just want to say that I'm thankful for these young kids. It works. That's all I got.
Talk about what? The springs? Oh, I think, are you talking about the waterfall? We went to a waterfall in New Mexico, which also is another eye-opener because it makes me want to travel. But what I was wanting to talk about was just Dios le bendiga, which means God bless you. We learned that, and it was just a huge impact. And Brent, you're making me cry. Don't look at me. But when we were handing out the burritos, the thing about the hospital is that it's just so sad because they can't afford the hospital. They can't afford to go to the hospital, back home, back to the hospital. Like, they have to stay there, and most of them will sleep outside, and it's just so heartbreaking, and only one can go in at a time for just a certain amount of hours, and so you'll see, like, tons of people just sitting and waiting or waiting outside the hospital, and then you go and give them a burrito, and you're like, Dios le bendiga, and then they just melt, and, like, they open the burrito so fast, and they eat it so fast, and you know they're starving, and it's just, like, so heartbreaking, but like they're all still laughing, they're there together with their family, they're constantly loving, and it is just a big eye-opener. It makes me want to come back home and like constantly cuddle up on my mom. So anyways, Dios le bendiga. I love everyone here, and we are so thankful for you guys. So that is it.
Let's give them another. I have just a quick question while I try to figure out what I'm doing. How many of you all have been to a third world culture before? Raise your hands real high. Okay, I've been multiple times. Wow, that's excellent. It sure is, I know what I'm missing, my Bible. It sure is eye-opening when you go. But I'm so thankful for the riches who lead these. Jesse called me. I'm packing for Ragbri. She calls me up. We don't have a van to go to Mexico. Well, I happen to have 3 vans for my team, and I'm going like, I wonder if I could squish all those people into 2 vans and how upset they would be and how much hatred I could take. So come to find out, they won't let you take them into Mexico. But I was trying to figure out how we could do that. We were calling everybody. Some of you maybe got a call. So it just goes to show how God provides when we're following His plan, His purposes. Amen. That God provides, and then the fruit is only a tidbit of what you saw up here. You know, we have no idea the impact that this is going to make. So anyway, hey, thank you. Thanks for sharing. You destroyed your hat down there, dude.
The reason was that is to demonstrate that it's hard work.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think more than people realize.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Hey, let's pray. We'll dive into the Word. Father, thank you so much for your Word, how powerful it is. Thank you that we come here today because of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, that when you came back from the dead, it stamped a seal of authority on your Word and your plan for humanity, that if we'll just come to you in simple childlike faith, take a look at the cross and trust what you did for us on the cross, as the writer of Hebrews would say, that you entered into the veil through a new and living way with your own blood. That today we can enter in, we can have forgiveness of sins because of your shed blood on the cross and your victory over death through the power of the resurrection. Lord, as we open up your word, help us to glean truth for life, not just truth for truth's sake, but truth for our living, that not only those in Juarez, Mexico, but those in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, and other places where you take us would know and experience the love of Jesus Christ and be connected to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. In 1939, Hitler was rising to power, and Great Britain knew that they were going to eventually be attacked. And in order to help people with their daily lives and encourage them with this impending doom, which the history books, we now know what happened, the nightly bombings and the air raids over Great Britain, that the government came together and said, we need to encourage our citizens to carry on with their regular life. And they came up with this slogan called "Keep Calm and Carry On." You've seen this before. You've seen it on coffee mugs and hats and T-shirts. You've seen it everywhere. You've seen it manipulated and changed. Keep calm and do this. Even my reg ride team, we say keep calm and let Larry handle it, our truck driver, who man, once I pull off on my bike, he takes care of the rest of the team. Keep calm and let Larry handle it. But it was a way of saying, like, in spite of everything that's going on, we need to keep calm and carry on. It was Thursday when you called me, Jesse, and I saw your number come up, and I'm like, oh no. Keep calm and carry on. But here's what I know about this situation. Here's what I know, is that when we get into that situation, it's hard to think. It's hard to know what to do. And in a worst case scenario, it's possible that we question, where is God in this moment? And there's no way God could love me in this moment. But I want to assure you that He does. And it is a plan. And we're in a series called The Good Life. And we're just taking a look at Solomon's sayings throughout the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes comes from where we get our word, ecclesiastical. It just means a gathering. And it implies a teacher because there's people there listening to him. So the teacher or the preacher, he refers to himself. And we've been processing along like what is Solomon's wisdom for us today, and how does his wisdom going to help us? And it goes all the way back to Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 24, where he says this. So I decided... This is kind of the sum. Next week we'll really sum it up with what he says in chapter 12, verse number 1. So I decided there is nothing better than to enjoy food and drink and to find satisfaction in work. Then I realized that these pleasures are from the hand of God. That God, if we have the perspective that everything God gives us, that everything He's given us is designed to glorify Him. That's the good things, not the bad things, right? Alcoholism, that's not a good thing, right? But like the good things. It was funny, I was watching Nicholas play his guitar up here, and there was a day when I thought like distortion guitar was of the devil. Well, a lot of the music we listened to back in the 70s, that style of music, right? That it was connected to that, but there's nothing inherently wrong with the distortion guitar. I hope not, because I love that sound. I love that sound. But all things, if under the sun we say all things come from God and they are to be enjoyed, then the enjoyment factor can go down when difficulties come into our lives. I want to share with you three things that Solomon says. And man, hey, we are skipping a ton. So I'd encourage you to go through and read this chapter. I've got questions on the back of your outlines there and in the YouVersion app as well. I'd encourage you to go answer those questions, just process through them, reread this chapter, because there's so much more in here than we'll have time to cover today. But I want to just share 3 ways that we can keep calm and carry on. And the first thing is we can keep calm and carry on by doing it now. Look at what Solomon says in chapter 9, Ecclesiastes, chapter number 9, and verse number 10. He says this: whatever you do, do well. For, now he's going to explain that, when you go to the grave, there will be no work or planning or knowledge or wisdom. Solomon says, whatever you're going to do, don't procrastinate, don't wait. He says, do it now, because there's coming a day when you won't be able to do that any longer. Then he continues in verse number 11, probably one of the longest verses in the Bible, I think, because I had to put it on 2 slides. I have observed something else under the sun. Now watch how he processes this. The fastest runner doesn't always win the race. Why? I don't know. Just the fastest person doesn't always win. Then the same thing, the strongest warrior, they don't always win the battle. The wise sometimes goes hungry, the skillful are not necessarily wealthy, and those who are educated don't always lead successful lives. It is all decided by chance. Here he says, by being in the right place at the right time. He said, like, why are we talking about chance in church? Well, partly because it's in here. But he's not saying, he's already admitted that all things come from God. The chance part of it is we just don't know how it's coming often. And often it doesn't make sense. And then he says, you've got to be in the right place at the right time. Here's the thing about right place, right time. You can't be in the right place at the right time if you don't do it now. If whatever it is that God's laid on your heart to do, then you can't be there if you don't do it now. And then he says, people can never predict when hard times might come. You don't know that there will be an opportunity to never do that again. I procrastinated. One of the things I procrastinated on was I had wrote down in my annual goals. I have annual goals every year. And 4 years ago, I wrote down that I want to do a backflip. I just want to do a back. I'm frustrated that I'm fearful going over backwards. On the diving board, I could do a 1.5. It wasn't pretty, but I could get the job done, you know. I could go forward, but I was always afraid of going. I did a gainer one time. You know what a gainer is? You go off the board front ways, and then you throw your feet this way, and then you look back for the water. I threw my feet perfectly up, forgot to look back at the water. Pow, man. I just landed splat. So this was a goal of mine to get this done. You're probably wondering how it turned out. I had enough people discourage me that I could hurt myself that I decided not to. Seriously, I had a gymnast say, you really shouldn't be trying this at your age. Okay, I'm good with that. But that's a point. Had I done that earlier in life? He says, whatever you plan to do, do it now. It's funny, when I say that and I stand up here in front of you, you're probably like me. Something pops into your head. You're like, that one thing I haven't done, I've been putting off for whatever the reason. The next 2 points are going to help you with how to process that, but I did write down some things here. When is the best time to plant a tree? Does anybody know? 20 years ago. It's true though. When is the second time best time to plant a tree? Today. And I wrote down 4 things for us as Christ followers to think about, just to prompt your thinking, and then we'll move to the second point. What is the bad habit that you keep saying every year? Well, I'm going to lick this one. I'm going to take this on. What's the bad habit that you need to stop right now? What are you waiting for? Solomon says, do it now. He even said, do it well, whatever you do. Or you need to start a new habit. You've been like, I need to get going on this. I need to work out. I need to read. I need all these things. So the wisdom of Solomon says, do it now. Here, get connected to a Sunday school or a life group. Man, we had a great, I saw a lot of people here for Sunday school. You know, we have an easy way to study the Bible on Sunday morning. And a lot of you guys are passing this opportunity by. We have Sunday school at 9 o'clock. We have Sunday school for children all the way up, all the way through, for all ages. And I encourage you to say, well, I'll get to that next time. Well, maybe next year I'll get to that. Don't wait. Get started. Or a life group. We're going to start our life groups back up in September. I'm looking forward to getting together with mine. And maybe you've said, I need to be in a group. I need to get in a group. But then you just walk out the door and nothing changes. Maybe this is the time to say, I need to get started in a group. The third thing, I want to serve in one of our ministries here. So I talked to Matt earlier about this, and we have an opportunity with our tech team. Now, how many of you guys like to play with the sound system in your car? Like to adjust it, tweak it? If you're this person, you can help us with tech. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do this. It does take some training, right, Matt? It does take some training, but we're willing to help. You say like, well, somebody else will do it. No. Keep calm and do it now. I'm saying there's plenty of opportunities, and man, cleaning teams here, there's all kinds of opportunities. Say, well, how do I get started? Talk to me. Talk to somebody. But keep calm and do it now. And the fourth thing is, man, we're this close to eliminating since January $292,000 in debt. Say amen right there. Randy, where are we at today? Do you have that number on the top of your head? 45. We're 45 away, and if you put the pledges in, how far are we away? 12,000. We're $12,000 to September the 10th to eliminating the debt so that we could hire the next staff person. We're that close. And maybe, and I'm not, the people that give faithfully week after week after week, and you've pledged and you've already given, you can just tune out right now. This really isn't for you. But for that last percentage of people that you just maybe stood back a little bit. So, well, you felt like you should, but you just didn't. It's not too late. Keep calm and do it now. And then we'll get to the other things will make perfect sense. So here's the thing. What is the one thing you need to start or stop or quit waiting on? You need to write that down. I was going to distribute paper, pens, and everything today, but you've got your notes. Write that one thing down. Just write it down. What is the one thing? It may be something simple. It may be something so complex it's going to take you years to get to. Write it down. Here, and those of you that follow me on Facebook know this, but my wife and I got away for a couple of days. We went up to Galena, one of our favorite places, just to do a little getaway. And I was like, keep calm, carry on, do it now. Like, well, we don't need to go anywhere this year. We've got a lot going on. I said, no, I need to invest in my marriage. We need to invest in our marriage together. It was a great time away, barely 24, 36 hours we were gone. But then I posted some pictures of us in Cancun. How many of you saw those pictures on Facebook? Okay, so you're like, how did you do that? Here, I want to talk to you real quick about this because it's a perfect illustration. I never proposed. I know I've told this story before, but I'm okay with that. I never did the "will you marry me" thing with her. I kind of just handed her the ring, and we had the date, and away we went. And the first small group we're in, when we were in college, Bible college in Chattanooga, the icebreaker question: how did you propose to your wife? Oh, geez. So like I always thought I would love to fix this problem. And every year I go, I'd love to fix this problem. I'd love to fix this problem. I'd love to propose to her. Well, now I'm embarrassed. Well, I don't have the money. Blah, blah, blah. On and on and on it went. And on our 20th wedding anniversary, I finally said, 25th, correct? On our 25th, was August the 3rd. In March, I got this in my head. And I met with an accountability partner. And I said, a guy I met with regularly, I said, I've got this burden, like I want to propose to my wife. He goes, well, I'll give you the resort in Cancun. That's off the table. You can have our timeshare for the week. All right, one. And I thought, well, I want to propose to her. And then I met with somebody else. And I concocted this plan, and I had this much money. Zero. But I had a place to go, but no money to fly there. I had a plan. Keep calm, do it now. That's what I'm talking about right here. Keep calm, do it now. I had a plan. We got a refund. I don't know how many of you guys, we pay every single year on our federal income taxes. We never get a refund. Almost. We got a refund that was enough to buy the airfare. It was incredible. And other things too as well. So now I've got the airfare. Now I've got this. Now I've got to work on the proposal. Well, I found out I had some inheritance money. And it was enough to rent a huge limousine for just 2 hours. I mean, don't get excited. So we had to get him on his way, hurry up, let's get the proposal done so he can be, And I've got a whole story. Take me out for coffee. I'm a cheap date. Just take me out for coffee. I'd love to tell you the whole story of how this worked. But I'll just stop right there. I'll tell you the rest another day. But here's how this started. I said to another person, I want to do this. What should I do? Keep calm and do it now, says Solomon. Number 2, Solomon says, keep calm and do it with wisdom. Look at Ecclesiastes 10, turn your page maybe, and look at verse number 10. It says this: using a dull axe requires great strength, so sharpen the blade. That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. Now watch this. How many of you know Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? Okay, I read it multiple times. It's a great book. One of the 7 habits of highly effective people is that they take time to sharpen the saw, to hone their skills. I read somewhere where Warren Buffett, he's got the money to do this, so don't try this at work. But he sits and stares out a window for 1 hour every day to sharpen the saw. And when we sharpen the saw, can you put the verse back up there, please? Real quick, thanks. When you sharpen the blade, you get to work smarter, not harder. And here's the thing about wisdom. You probably don't know all that you need, but the people around you know what you need. And you can hear and listen to them. In Proverbs 15:22, it says this: plans go wrong for lack of advice. Many advisors bring success. Young people, look up here real quick. Those of you in middle school and high school, you need an advisor. Your parents, of course, they know you best. But you need someone that will speak into your life and help give you direction, help you know, because you don't know yourself. You have blind spots. And I went to coaching. I called it coaching with Carol. Her name just happens to be Carol Icky. So I like things rhyme. So coaching with Carol. And I went to coaching with Carol just because I had like this. Well, there's a big story behind this. I've shared most of this before. But I went because I had this unrest. Like I'm not happy with where I am, but I'm happy with where I am, and I just need some help. And after processing through a thing called the Strength Finder, it became very clear that I was in a position that had changed and I wasn't necessarily cut out for, and that I needed to move into something different. And I'm in Mount Pleasant because I sought the counsel of a wise person. And man, trust me, it wasn't just her, it was my accountability partner I've talked about in Arkansas, Tom, if you're watching today, Tom Green, and other people in my life that came into my life. I'm telling you, keep calm, do it now, keep calm, and don't just lunge in and make big mistakes. No, do it with wisdom. The other verse for that is iron sharpens iron. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. You just need people in your life. Just trust me. There's no place in the Christian life for loners and people that just stay alone. That's why we gather together. We gather together on Sunday morning for that. Our Sunday school classes meet together to study the Bible together. You hear somebody else say something, well, that was me too. And in your life group, you can share things that are going on in your life, but we've got to keep calm and do it with wisdom. And then notice thirdly, keep calm, and this probably should go without saying, but keep calm and do it trusting God. That's Jesse, when you called me that day, man. Like, I knew that you would figure this out. I knew you would. Military, you guys are military. You're just trained those three things you always say to me, and I can never remember them. But anyway. But you know you'll figure this out. But we trust God. We do it now. We do it with wisdom. But in the end, we're going to trust God. Look at what he says in, I think it's verse number 5. Just as you cannot understand the path of the wind or the mystery of a tiny baby growing in its mother's womb. Actually, we know a lot about the mystery of how a baby goes through a mother's womb now, way more than they would have then. So you cannot understand the activity of God who does all things. If we can't understand the activity of God, what do? Give up? Life is futile. Why bother? No. We trust him because he's the creator. It's not on the slides, but I'm going to back up and give this verse context. In verse number 1 of chapter 11, check this out. If this was almost written to Iowa with our farmers. Watch what Solomon says. Send your grain across the seas, and in time profits will flow back to you. There's a trusting factor right there. Number 2, verse 2, but divide your investments among many places. Diversify, right? For you do not know what risk you may lie ahead. And then when you invest, you have to trust your investment advisor, and you have to trust the Lord. Verse number 3, when clouds are heavy, they are today. Actually, it's supposed to rain all day and all night. I looked. When clouds are heavy, the rains come down. Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. Verse number 4, farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. Just stop right there. Farmers who wait for perfect weather will never plant. So they don't wait for perfect weather. Hey, look up here real quick. I know it's getting late. Don't look at the clock, okay? Just stay with me. I have this problem that I don't start things because I'm afraid I won't be able to do it perfectly. Anybody else? I want to do it right. And if I can't do it right, sometimes I just go like, a box of Pop-Tarts or potato chips and a show on the television is way easier. Pardon me while I just share my temptations and struggles, right? But he says, if you wait, Vic, right, for that right time, the perfect weather, Lauren, if you wait for the exact best time to plant, you're never going to do it. So I'm going to give you a phrase that's going to rock all of us firstborns. We're not going to want to hear this. But anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. I'll let that sink in for a minute. I wish I had something to drink here. Keep calm and do it now with wisdom, and don't be crazy. Don't do a backflip if you're 61 years old and break your neck. But do it with wisdom, and then we trust God with it. And then if it doesn't work, here's a couple things for you. Like I was at the Old Threshers Parade. That's just a hoot, man. I love the Old Threshers Parade. We take the grandkids, usually some of them come down, we go up there, and then they throw candy, and they're all happy, and watching old tractors and everything. And I said to myself, why doesn't Wellspring have a float in the parade? So, why don't we have a float in the parade? I don't know. I just don't know. Well, you're the leader, darn it. You should figure this out. Well, I don't even know. Will we pull it with a... No, now stay with me. Watch my thought process on this. Will we pull it with a truck or a tractor? Well, Grace, our admin, she happens to have a 60s, like early 60s tractor. She goes, my tractor would never pull that thing. I said, it's just a little wagon. Nope, it won't do it. Well, then I guess we just shouldn't do it then. It's a lost cause. It'll be a train wreck. And then the thing will start to go backwards and it'll rain. And now I know you're saying like, wow, you're crazy. But no. We all go through this on everything. So I told Randy and Matt and everybody had big trucks, or I knew had a tractor, Greg Shepard. I have a tractor, but I guarantee you my tractor won't pull nothing other than the grandkids. So like, how hard would it be to have a float in a parade? They said it'll be easy. We're going to have a float in a parade this year. We're going to have a float in a parade. Where's the candy going to come from? I don't know. Probably next week we'll be asking you. Anything worth... Oh, I'm not joking about that, actually. Because I don't know. Tootsie Rolls. Well, do you throw candy bars? Do you throw apples at them because we want to be healthy? I don't know. Well, let's just not do it. No. Keep calm, carry on. Do it with now. Do it with wisdom. Do it trusting God. And just do something. Anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. Except for the float. I told him it's got to look, it's got to look nice. Man, there's something in your life right now. I'll just quit. I think you guys got enough. The main idea today is... Did I give him the last verse? Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledging Him, and He will direct your paths. That's the rest of it. Trust in God. Don't despair. Keep calm, people. Don't despair. I've done some despairing recently. Don't despair. Keep calm and carry on by doing it now with wisdom and trusting God. With 3 possible next steps. Number 1, what is the one thing you need to do now with wisdom, trusting God? And I don't have to talk about options. It's already there. I hope it's something to do with serving, with loving your neighbor as yourself. Share, prayer, care, and share. Number 2, have you placed your trust in Jesus Christ? You keep coming week after week and you're checking this stuff out. But you say, like, I'm just going to stand back. I'm not going to trust the Lord. Today's your day. Trust Jesus before it's too late. Man, if afterwards, please come right up or talk to the person that brought you. But don't leave here today without trusting Jesus. And then the third thing is this. Pray, care, and share. Now, we haven't talked about this for a long time, but I want to bring it back up. We want to pray for people. We want to pray especially for people that are far from God, that need Jesus. So we just start by praying for them. That's easy. Just talk to God about your friend who needs Jesus. The students, who shared today. There may be somebody down there you met. You may never be able to get back down and see them again, but you can pray for them. And then pray for an opportunity to share the gospel or care for them. So pray, care for them in some way. Just demonstrate care. Just love them in an appropriate way that they can see the love of Jesus in you. I know I've told you this. I'll tell you again on Ragbri. I'm making a point. I had 30. I think we had 30 on our team. We have 4 drivers, and it's crazy. We'll probably never be this big again, but I went around to every single person, believer, unbeliever, I didn't care. I squared up with them, and I said, hey, I want you to know I love you. That was awkward for a couple, believe me. And I said, I'm glad God brought you into my life. I really am. And man, there's a wall that just breaks down at that moment. Care for them, and then share the hope that you have in Jesus Christ. Here, hey, listen up, church. If we were to all do this, people would want what we have. I really believe people want what we have. But when they see this, when they see how we do life, the hope that we have, the reason why we pray, care, share, the reason why we give financial, the reason why we serve at the church of ladies game night on Thursday night. Great job, you guys. Way to go. You know, then they will experience the love of Jesus through us. Would you bow your heads, close your eyes? Guys, come on and back up for the closing worship song. We're in overtime right now, but if the Super Bowl went into overtime, you'd stay up, wouldn't you? Heads bowed, eyes closed. Thank you for listening. I just want to pray for you. I feel like God's working on your heart right now. You don't need me to say another word. I want to talk to God and just pray for you right now. Lord, as I've shared today, things have popped into my head even. Funny things, actually, crazy things. But Lord, it's something that you're concerned about because life under the sun or life under the S-O-N, Lord, you care about these things. You've given us all things to enjoy. Now, Lord, I pray that you would speak to our hearts, that we would not become people who think and be, but we would become people who do your will. Give us strength and courage to keep calm and do it now with wisdom and trusting you in Jesus' name. Amen.